I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. A croc aiming the shot with Snapshot. Snapshot is the introduction trap master of Trap Team, being in the starter pack as he's another Aussie tile in the Skylands taking action. Snapshot is an all-around fighter with a crystal bow and arrow primary, a close-up crystal slam for heavy knockback, and a controllable tide pool to stun enemies. His base upgrades are okay, and even his upgrade paths add some depth to him, but nothing too creative, I would say. Aside from his soul gem adding more to his crystal slam when he does it in the air? Really, my issue with Snapshot is that he gets the job done, but he really doesn't play that fun, as his primary is basic without the upgrade path. His slam puts him in danger of damage, and his tide pool can leave a majority of enemies not stunned, thus he's prone to getting croc banged. Really, his best aspects are his design and figure, being a croc using literal crystals as a bow and arrow. So Snapshot is a 2 by working as a croc archer, but doesn't have that creative gameplay and upgrades to enhance it. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. Where's the butter? This Lobstar is cooking. Lobstar harnesses the art of the ninja with swift combat and the art of the lobster by boiling himself. Lobstar is a projectile fighter with fast firing starfish shurikens, a dodge move for mobility, and his signature boil install that burns him with rage for stronger buffs such as his attack speed and more. Lobstar does increase his crustacean power with upgrades needed to boost him and his paths that offer versatility and some creativity, plus his soul gem adds a pop-off to the end of boiling. But honestly, Lobstar became a fan favorite of mine once I saw him boil himself with rage, and I immediately pissed my pants by how freaking hilarious and genius it is. Then for design and figure, Lobstar just stands out as a lobster IP and is so cool. He uses starfish, being an undersea ninja, and his figure is wide as hell. So Lobstar is a 4 cause bro said, "Fam, you're cooking me wrong, I got you," and wrecked the Skylands up. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. This dolphin doesn't do stunts but fights instead with Flipwreck. Flipwreck is a dolphin warrior who's irresistible to the lust of combat while making adorable whistles as they scream. Flipwreck is a close combat fighter who uses his sword to slash, jumps on his wheel for an AoE riding damage, and a shield that locks on to protect himself while splashing some damage. Flip does suffer from base upgrades, as aside from blowing his hole, everything is just utility, and his upgrade paths mainly add to his fundamentals aside from Fish Commander that offers more creativity with my army of fish! But his soul gem is a nice combo to his wheel attack, I'd say. Really, Flipwreck is basic as hell, another amazing concept of a character that goes nowhere aside from the minimum. That upsets me because I love the design of Flipwreck, just being an anthropomorphic dolphin shined in warrior garb and uses a freaking steering wheel. But Flipwreck is a 2 cause this dolphin isn't flipping much tricks in my eyes. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. The waves are crashing but these beats don't stop with Echo. Echo is a music-loving seahorse dragon who takes the jams from under the sea and spreads the music around by bursting the eardrums of her foes. Echo is a projectile fighter by keeping the distance with her scream blast, a bubble bomb to lay traps around her, and an AoE sonic slam that does make her moveset feel familiar to past Skylanders, but her upgrades make her stand out more by increasing her effectiveness with her moves. Yet she drops the beat in her upgrade paths and her soul gem that I never really saw make use since it usually just explodes. But personally, I love her ultrasound move for the fact it drops 700 damage on enemies like a frying pan to the cock. But in design and figure, Echo is rocking. I love how different she is as a seahorse who bobs to music and they mate for life, while her figure is a basic dynamic pose, I'd say. So Echo is a 4 for a moveset similar to past Skylanders but changes the beat to her own way. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. The Luck of the Irish with Tough Luck. Tough Luck is a stealthy feline who is as deadly as she looks, and everything else about her character was ruined by Robot Chicken. Tough Luck is a close combat fighter using her Warblade combos, a spring attack to close in on enemies, and a Cloverfield that keeps her hidden until this kitty is ready to strike. Tough's upgrades do add more to her kit, and her upgrade paths increase that inventiveness with her moveset, like more ways to damage with her blades, or better stealth, plus her soul gem is a solid add-on to back up her pounce attack in case enemies close in. Really, my issue with Tough Luck is knowing how to play her, since I noticed that rampaging with her leads to death most of the time, and her gameplay truly is centered around the stealth. For design and pose though, I'm split, as she is a tall ferocious cat wielding warblades, but god is her face ugly, and her pose is dynamic, but holy ill, at least Scratch was more attractive looking. So Tough Luck is a 3 for living up to her name of stealth, but I would have liked more versatility. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. Women beware, as Bushwhack is here. Bushwhack is a name I can't believe got past quality assurance, but damn does he do his name justice in the Skylands. Bushwhack is an all-around fighter with an axe combo, an acorn throw to stun enemies, and his head bash to leap forward with AoE damage and knocking up enemies. Bushwhack gets amazing upgrades, bringing the force more to his moveset, and even his upgrade paths just gives Nature's Wrath with versatility and fun bonuses. Then you have his soul gem that brings a literal tree down, being one of my favorite moves to pull off with the villager down special. Bushwhack is deadly, and I love his gameplay so freaking much, but his design and pose is a bit bare in my opinion, just being a humanoid tree elf that is somehow smaller than the others. Oh my god, they knew what they were doing. But aside from being a typical nature warrior, his pose is cool, just another axe wielding stance. But Bushwhack is a 5 because with moves like him, there's a reason his name is Bushwhack. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. You better eat your veggies with Food Fight. Food Fight is the core Skylander that came in the Trap Team starter pack, as he is force feeding vegetables to every foe he sees. Food Fight is a projectile fighter firing tomatoes, a zucchini shotgun blast for knockback, and an artichoke landmine to expand his Garden of Doom. Even Food's upgrades are creative, giving him a fun mechanic of picking up leftover tomatoes for massive damage, and his upgrade paths mainly are great for versatility and utility, but his soul gem is hilarious as he rides a cartoonishly large tomato. Suck on my vitamin C, bitches! Yes, we can argue Food Fight is another trigger happy clone, that he is, but damned if I do, I'm a Neander casual who loves small dudes with guns. But that is the allure of Food, being a living artichoke with a food gun spreading the garden's wrath, and his figure is very lackluster posing, but it's okay. So Food Fight is a 5 for being another solid hit in the starter pack for fans to play. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. He's the masochistic speedster High Five. High Five is a unique fellow who trained in the art of masochism, delivering fast damage to others but also to himself, teaching children the meaning of gambling. High is an all-around fighter from projectile poison that can also be done by flying, a dash attack to zip around, and an AoE slam. High's moveset and upgrades are like no other, with him getting bonuses to his main kit, and his upgrade paths offer uniqueness to some moves, but his main trait is his Berserker Overdrive that makes his slam do more damage while hurting himself. This makes him a high-risk, high-reward character that is different than any other Skylander, making him a complex character to get around with, and I doubt most 6-year-olds thought a Dragonfly was going to teach them Tekken levels of tech. But High's design is funny. He's just a literal dragonfly with a horse racing mask on, and his figure is fun and posing. So High 5 is a 4 because I may not vibe with his gameplay much, but damned if I do, I love gambling. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. Double the hammers, twice the pounding with Wallop. Wallop is the bro with the massive bonkers who's handing out brain damage like happy hour at a goddamn Applebee's. Wallop is surprisingly a projectile fighter, mainly aside from his primary whack-a-mole. He has a hammer toss to indent domers and his hammer collide that locks onto an enemy. His upgrades are mainly utility with some inventive changes to his primary, and his paths do lead to more creative changes to his style and bonkage. But his soul gem is great by dropping the biggest hammer, but it never left much of an oomph when landing sometimes. Oddly, he gets solid coverage on everything and excels as a range and speedy hammer bro, but I feel like his projectiles miss a lot when you're running, making him a character that has to stand his ground as a projectile fighter. Then for design, Wallop confuses me again, being another ambiguous animal that I thought was a chickmuck on steroids, but his figure is beefy posing, showing off the babies. So Wallop is a 4 for bringing the hammers down twice. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. The throat goat of yodels with Head Rush. Head Rush is the giant woman of Skylands with her mommy-dommy strength, earning her many titles as the Pelvis Pulverizer, Clobber Crotcher, and the Shatter Shafter. Head is all close combat, getting right up in there with a horn attack that knocks enemies up and even can turn into a dash attack. Then a stomp AoE and a yodel for more AoE damage. Head's upgrades do boost her creativeness to certain moves, and her soul gem is where her horns get better, but her upgrade paths are solid with her Weenie Wrecker stomps or her Gawk of Gold yodeling. Head Rush is different, but something always felt off with her gameplay. I have my fun, but a lot of her uniqueness is mid when a big woman isn't doing big damage. Her design and pose though is solid, as she's a big elf woman in Viking aesthetic, and her pose is wide and dynamic in all the best ways. So Head Rush is a 3 for playing with a fun concept, but she's more of a meme than a Skylander. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. Yeehaw feller, we got ourselves a wild Rocky Roll! Rocky Roll is a symbiotic relationship of a rock miner and a boulder working together and somehow met in mining college. Who the fuck let the Rock graduate with a degree. Rocky Roll is an all-around fighter firing projectile rock spit, a hoot and handy dash, and my right to bear rock shield for AoE coverage. Base Rocky Roll sucks, but his upgrades get this rodeo a-going with some utility like his soul gem just boosting his AoE rock shield, but the main show is the ability to ride the boulder like a bull, and his upgrade paths offer more fun, especially when you grab the boulder by the cracks as he ragtags around the field. Rocky Roll is one of my favorites, but I know aside from his rock roundup, he is very bland. Yet his design is so freaking goofy, being a rock dude on a boulder constantly running like a cartoon character, and his figure is hilarious but oddly hollow in feel. So Rocky Roll is a 3 for dancing the rock tango, but very stiff with everything else. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. Cute and cuddly earthquakes with Fist Bump. Fist Bump is the California earthquake simulator, as he is literally quaking up the Skylands for funsies. Fist Bump is a close combat fighter with a unique gimmick of fault lines that is primary pounds to activate. He has a quote-unquote projectile slam for creating fault lines, and a dash attack that all combines together for one deadly disaster. Fist's base upgrades are primarily utility to boost his fault line power, and his soul gem is an install that creates faults by just walking, but his upgrade paths are where this cuddly bastard is dangerous and versatile with a creative boost to both. Personally, I find no faults with Fist Bump. He's truly a natural disaster of damage. Panda! But in terms of the design, Fist Bump is awesome. He's just a rock panda in boots who is covered in spikes. So Fist Bump is a 5, as he isn't resting 10 hours, but dishing 10 magnitudes. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. Wind and Thunder is the soul of Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt is another cloud bro who is bringing down the storm with his electrified justice, but he's just Whirlwind and Tornado combined, but he's shaped like Lightning Rod, but without the sex appeal. Thunderbolt is a close combat fighter with an electric blade that tinges some shock distance, a cloud that can be hit to turn into a storm cloud, and a twister that does AoE damage but also sucks clouds in for more damage. Thunderbolt, I feel, suffers in upgrades and uniqueness, as his base and even path upgrades are mainly functional to his moveset, and sadly the most creative move he gets is his soul gem that summons lightning, but like 80% of the time I can never trigger the move. Then in concept and pose, Thunderbolt is shocking. I mean, he is a literal cumulus cloud knight, but Thunderbolt is another case of an awesome concept but given the bare minimum. So Thunderbolt is a 1, as he is functional and could be fun, but even then he's just a collaboration of other Skylanders. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. The queso of Skylands, Gusto. Gusto is bringing the boomerang of justice in the Skylands, and oh sweet Jesus, he's just inflation kink. Gusto is an all-around fighter with a traditional boomerang tossed, a spinning AoE with his ring, and the power of Kirby by sucking his foes and blowing them out, but goddamn he's thick. Gusto's base upgrades do benefit his kit, especially the inhaling, but his upgrade paths add that bloom of creativeness with deadly bonuses, and his soul gem is a strong attack if you suck up your boomerang. That is a nice bonus. Gusto does have the right curves in all the right places, but sadly his boomerang feels so unoriginal even with the upgrades. But his inhale is like the balance of fun for me. I'm noticing a trend here. Then for design and figure, I like his pose by how lax he is, but for design I'm getting Wind Genie vibes. That is cool, but I don't know, not the greatest in my eyes. So Gusto is a 4 for being the thickest boy whose ass cheeks collapse create storms. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. A magical carpet ride with Fling Kong. Fling Kong is a monkey who rides a flying carpet while throwing frisbees. That sounds less crazy when compared to his backstory that literally awakens monkey neurons. Fling Kong is an all-around fighter with his disc fling projectile, a dash attack to close in, and a cymbal smash that's an AoE but mainly on the left and right. Fling's base upgrades are needed to boost his kit, but his upgrade paths are a bit inventive, but in a weird way of dashing and in performing a boosted move depending on your path. But his soul gem is a fun super to make it rain frisbees, truly a pupper's paradise. Honestly, I feel Fling's gameplay is mediocre. He's not hitting the stars, but he's still bringing a whole new world with some inventive ways that plays into being a monkey. Then Fling Kong's design is a ride of fun and goofy, being an armed monkey on a flying carpet, and his figure has a cool pose as he's wearing up the toss. boss. So Fling Kong is a 3 for not a shining, shimmering, splendid ride, but still tickles my monkey fun. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. A noble Blade that he is. Blade is a literal dragon with knives. Like the design team just said, put a knife on a dragon. Like if I put a knife on a hamster, would it be a stabster? Blade is an all-around fighter with a combo wing slice, a cyclone that sucks enemies in, and his blade shards that's a projectile that has versatility by being standalone, hit to reach further enemies, or sucked up by the cyclone for a Blade NATO. Blade is the perfect fighter with his base upgrades boosting his fun, and his upgrade paths are a slash of inventive and deadly. Plus, his soul gem is an install to having blades form in the cyclone. Blade is a personal favorite to me just by controlling the field with his blades and just having fun, just shredding everything up. That feels like his whole move kit just works together in tandem. That is perfect. Then for design and pose, I do find Blade not too stylish. I mean, he fits the ticket as a sword dragon, and his pose is kind of cute for how deadly he is. So Blade is a 5 for studying the art of the blade that he is. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. It's time to brain blast with Blastermind. Blastermind is all about using his brain versus brawn as he uses mind-mending powers while quoting young Sheldon. Bazinga! I miss my wife. Blastermind is an all-around fighter going from an AoE Mind Blast, a slowdown projectile, and his levitation attack that holds them up and slams them down. Blastermind's base upgrades are a utility towards his main kit, but his upgrade paths are the chef's kiss, being some of the kookiest and craziest upgrades like mind control or bouncing around enemies. But the creme de la croix is his soul gem that lets you bypass lock puzzles. Okay, in all honesty, most of Blastermind's shtick doesn't really work on a majority of enemies, but honestly, I love his gameplay trying to do something fun and out there for such a goofy ass character. Speaking of which, Blastermind's design is funky, just a purple dude with a big ass helmet, and his figure is hilariously tall. So Blastermind is a 4 as it's not about the strength but the girth of his brain. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. Who, where, what is Enigma? Enigma is a mystery donning the ominous hood and concealing every fact about him, as his gameplay is a guessing game because he wields a magic staff, but this wizard prefers blunt trauma spells. Enigma is a close combat fighter with a staff swing attack, an AoE slam, and his invisibility move that lets him sneak away and attack enemies on reveal with his hood. He does get fun base upgrades to his hood move, but his upgrade paths add a bit of creativeness, but focused more on utility, while his soul gem is a powerful, mysterious piss beam. But even though I know Enigma is a fan favorite to the community, especially since his design is literal aura farming, and his figure is so freaking cool with the transparency, I sadly can't get behind him because his design and damage carries him, but his gameplay is so plain to me. So I'm prepared for the gallo, as Enigma is a 2, as I don't rate for damage, but I rate for how creative they perform. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. I'm feeling a sense of deja vu here. Deja vu was a scientist until a freak accident gave her the ability to control time because she tried to cook eggs faster while heavily armed slugs were attacking her. I forgot this was made for 6-year-olds. Deja Vu is a projectile fighter using her lock-on magic balls, a time shift AoE that can turn into a black hole, and her signature past selves that follow her past movements. Her upgrades are where you'll remember her, as it opens up her gimmick, and her upgrade paths are created with a boost of utility and minor creativity. But her soul gem is upping her time shift, turning it into a cosmic rift that tears enemies up. I love Deja Vu, and I always enjoy the chaos she expels on screen, but if anything, she is a one-trick pony. But for design and figure, I will say her figure pose is pretty plain, but her design is cute as she's a girly time wielder. But like, why does she have human colored hands? Like, I can't unsee this anymore. So Deja Vu is a 4 with a great gimmick, but she's more of a Mandela effect, cause when were her hands beiged? I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay, design, and dynamic figure pose. A hypnotic beat with Cobra Kadabra. Cobra Kadabra is a musical little fellow who's playing to the beat of his own flute while foes are hypnotized by his songs, or they just die because most can't get past the first tempo. Cobra is an all-around fighter using a flute projectile attack, a tossing snake basket as mini traps AoEs, and then his launch attack that is both a dash but combines with his snake basket for more damage. Cobra's base upgrades are already created by upping his utility, but his gimmick is the ability to be stronger to the beat of the song by timing his attacks like Rhythm Heaven. But his upgrade paths add versatility to any style of gameplay you prefer, as I like the ability to charm your enemies to fight on your side, while his soul gem is just a big boom attack for his baskets. Honestly, I love Cobra Kadabra's style of gameplay, being one unique for a rhythm-focused attack, while a stylish concept with him being a snake charmer that is literally him as the snake and the charmer, while his figure is fun posing. So Cobra Kadabra is a 5 because even I was charmed by his tune. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. Gears and wires, but a heart of a fighter, Jawbreaker. Jawbreaker is the Rock of Sock'em robot who's delivering rapid fire punches like a well-oiled machine and a smile on his face like G.I. Robot. Jawbreaker is a close combat fighter with quick punches and AoE electric attack that sparks spread around, and his signature install with Robo Rage that boosts his speed and damage but does have to cool off when done. Jawbreaker's base upgrades are primarily utility to boost his skills, and even his upgrade paths really don't add much creativity to his moveset, aside from little cherries on top, but really his Soul Gem is the most creative ability by adding a go-go gadget, you're fucking dead. So even with a minimalist moveset and upgrades, Jawbreaker's gameplay is still downright fun, all because the core value of him is the best aspects, such as his design too, being a bulky, robust robot with big ol' hands, and his figure is dynamic as he's flexing what his mama made him. So Jawbreaker is a 5, being the best of everything I love, robots and boxing. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. She's grinding some gears with Gear Shift. Gear Shift is a humanoid robot who fights with a giant gear that on paper is dumb, but dear lordy, she's hitting forms like a goddamn Gundam. Gear Shift is an all-around fighter with a set dash attack and then flipping between styles of AoE, melee, and even projectile due to her signature mode toggle, giving her access to all kinds of combos across the board. For base upgrades, she is awesome because it adds more to her gimmick of gears that combos with her moves, and her upgrade paths are versatile and creative to your playstyle of choice, as her Soul Gem 2 is an install to quicker changes and damage. Gear Shift is a favorite of mine as I adore the multiple style and knickknacks she has to her kit, especially when you tear a boss to shreds. But her design is disturbing being a bald robot girl, but her concept is peak, and her figure shows off all of her snuff. So Gear Shift is a 5 for doing roly-poly-oly chaos wherever she goes. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. A military-grade T-Rex Chopper. Chopper is the T-Rex Iron Man of Skyland, who took to the skies in his military missiled armored exosuit. Oh my god, I'm chubbed up. Chopper is a range fighter from launching missiles to a propeller dash attack and then a roar attack. Chopper's base upgrades ups his crazy to lock on rockets, but his upgrade paths are more utility, and even then I feel his roar path is redundant since the roar is kind of a attack, yet his Soul Gem turns his flight into a damn Disneyland fireworks show of missiles everywhere. Even though I personally feel his kit is basic and the roar is useless, I actually love this goober for having crazy fun with his missiles, even if it's a simple concept. That also stems from Chopper's design being a T-Rex attack helicopter that is so cute and fun, and I love his figure's goofy pose. So Chopper is a 4 because he could do no wrong except being banned from 8 countries. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. Road? Nah, I want Treadhead. Treadhead is the first all-vehicular Skylander, roaming and swerving amongst the Skylands committing vehicular crimes with his favorite drinking juice. Tread is a melee fighter with his wheelie attack being a continuous dash, a backfire shotgun blast for behind knockback, and a spin move for AoE that halves damage taken. Tread's base upgrades are more utility to his damage, but his upgrade paths are versatile and inventive, and his Soul Gem is a massive backflip pop-off for damage. Treadhead's main gimmick is just driving on the highway, and I think he does the job brilliantly, but the backfire attack I feel is lacking, and it should have been something else. But Treadhead's design is metal, being a little driver in a triangle-shaped car, and I love to touch his figure. It feels oddly nice. So Treadhead is a 4 for driving in his car after a beer, and hey, that bump looks like a chompy? I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. From the tomb is Crypt King. Crypt King is a tall mummy knight who was hidden for years, is what I would say, but his actual story is a spirit on Zillow who discovered an arcane suit of armor because he wanted a home.
It's free real estate.
Crypt is an all-around fighter, using his sword combos, a swarm that locks onto enemies, and his haunted sword that can be controlled to attack afar. From base to upgrade paths, all of Crypt King's upgrades are utility, not really focused on creative value but damage. And even his Soul Gem is unique with it being a sword drop on critical hits, yet it rarely happened to me. Honestly, I feel Crypt King is unique for his haunted sword attack, yet it puts him more in danger I feel, and his gameplay is just about damage than chaotic value. For design and figure, Crypt was actually called Chop Chop Daddy, being a giant version of Chop Chop but was scrapped for a mummy look that I find more personable, and his pose is valiant. So Crypt King is a 3 for being cool and hard-hitting but mediocre in his creativity. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. A snip and a stitch, it's Shortcut. Shortcut is the maniacal tailor wielding massive scissors, being both cute and deadly, perfect for a creepypasta lore. Shortcut is an all-around fighter using his scissors to vasectomize his enemies. He can summon puppet minions to attack alongside him, and a needle pull to catch those runners. Short's base upgrades offer new fun with his core moves, and his upgrade paths are both deadly and creepy by boosting either his puppets or his needle attack, but his soul gem turns his scissors into stilts for mobile damage. Shortcut to me is a creative concept to his core, and with upgrades that is sewn together so well. Then for design, this puppeteer is dancing with a macabre puppet brandishing massive scissors, being a perfect splice of creepy and cute, while his figure is adorably huge with scissors being half the size. So Shortcut is a 5 as he's cutting the string that holds his enemies alive. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. I got a funny bone to pick with you. Funny Bone is the second dog Skylander, but where Hot Dog upsets me for not being dog-like, Funny Bone takes the cake for playing dead literally. Funny Bone is an all-around fighter with a frisbee projectile, a bone saw dash attack to rip up enemies, and a bone paw trap that attacks enemies in proxy. For base upgrades, Funny's projectile and dash attack opens up for more fun creativity, but his upgrade paths take the heart of a dog or ribcage, as Funny Bone gets amazing boost of inventiveness and chaos, plus his soul gem is a health regeneration with his paws. This is why Funny Bone is my favorite between the two dogs, because they really took advantage of his concept and pushed it to lengths, with the exception that his move kit is a bit familiar at this point, but the spin is he's dead. For design and figure, Funny Bone is a dead dog that shows not all dogs go to heaven, cause this one made puns that I love in design and concept, but his figure pose is basic. So Funny Bone is a 4, cause what the dog doing? I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. They fly as one with Batspin. Batspin is a vampire swarmed by bats to her beck and call that would have been cooler if she didn't sound like female Dracula Adam Sandler. Batspin is primarily a projectile fighter with a bat attack that stays in place, a bat swarm that consumes all the bats around for an AoE attack, then lastly a transformation into a bat that is a mix of close combat and projectile. Batspin's main upgrades are utility with her boosting her bats, but her upgrade paths are blood-curdling delicious as she can gain more creative power in bat form or bat buddies. Plus, her soul gem is just like a stronger projectile. Batspin's ability of bats is inventive and fun to me. That yes, her gameplay is a slow burn, but being the Rosalina and Luma of flying rats is such a cool concept. For design and figure, Batspin is a hit and miss, with her concept being awesome, but her design just looks like a gremlin toddler in a red onesie. And her figure is cool, just kind of flimsy. So Batspin is a 4, because her design is decent, but her creative gimmicks make up for her bite. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. Light the fuses for the Kaboom. Kaboom is a red guy who's beefed like He-Man carrying a cannon that all he was missing was to be oiled up. Kaboom is mainly a projectile fighter firing cannonballs, setting up a mortar to rain hell from above, and a cannon leap for a dash attack. Kaboom's base upgrades I feel add some practicality to his moves, and his upgrade paths bring some creativity, but mainly utility such as his soul gem 2 turning into missiles for more damage on his mortar attack. Then for design, I think he's cool, again being a bodybuilder like Viking, and his figure is very bulky. But ultimately, I dislike Kaboom a lot. He's usable, but everything about him is so slow and lackluster. Even his design feels out of place as a Skylander. Nothing ever really clicked with me with him, and just like Headrush, he's a bulky dude who doesn't feel like he's exerting that in practice. So Kaboom is a 1. That is one of the weakest trap masters in my eyes. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. A roar that sparks a wildfire within. Wildfire is truly the king of all beasts, as a true lion doesn't fight to protect others, but fights because he's erect. Wildfire is a close combat fighter wielding the heart of a shield by bashing skulls in. He has a flamethrower roar and a get over here move that claws runners back to him. Wildfire's base and even upgrade paths are pretty normal, mainly on utility, not really adding much creativity. Plus his chain champion path is kind of decent in my opinion, but really his soul gem is the coolest, letting him transform into a lion on the prowl. But even with okay upgrades, Wildfire's core move kit is all you need to feel like a lion playing him, just ripping and tearing whoever touches your gaze. For design and posing, Wildfire is a giant ass golden lion holding a shield. My monkey neurons are aroused, and his pose is so cool with him holding a flame. So Wildfire is a 5, being another Skylander whose core value is all you need to have fun. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. My little Trailblazer. Trailblazer is the white girl's Asquarian dream, being a flaming unicorn, and yes, it's a unicorn because his backstory is so far-fetched, I'm still processing the concept of a churro unicorn. Trailblazer is mainly a projectile fighter with a lobbed fireball, a flaming dash attack, and a roundhouse kick that knocks back and shoots projectiles. I will say Trail's base upgrades are utility, but his upgrade paths are showing this stallion off with creative boost, as I now feel like Spirit with my dash attack. Then his soul gem is a charged up flame projectile. Personally, I find Trailblazer's gameplay mediocre, but still solid enough. Maybe it's the feel, but I don't get my rocks off with him, yet I do respect they tried making a horse Skylander feel like one. But for design and figure, Trailblazer is a red unicorn, but mainly horse, that I'm okay with, and his figure is so cool with that menacing stare. So Trailblazer is a 3, for I respect his rodeo, but I'm not one to favor his gait. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. Light the furnace, it's Torch. Torch is the blacksmith fanning the forge with her bellows, or more specifically flaming it, since her bellows expel fire that I guess is practical but impractical. Torch is an all-around fighter using her bellow flamethrower, a whip yo head AoE for knockback, and her horseshoe toss that damages enemies over time. Torch's base upgrades are solid, with having the horseshoe be an install for higher damage with her flamethrower, and her upgrade paths are more utility but has some creative gimmicks. Plus her soul gem, if pressed multiple times, turn her flames even stronger. She is a solid Skylander, I feel. I mean, a lot of her gameplay is just hold an A, and her gimmick can be a hit or miss, so she's very much a practical solution that I do enjoy. For design and figure, Torch is a neat concept of being a flaming blacksmith that I love, and her figure is so cute and fierce. So Torch is a 3, as her gameplay is simple, but War Crimes is still a fun mechanic. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. An angelic warrior, Nightlight. Nightlight is a warrior of light, coming down from the skies to personally send enemies to heaven, but mainly hell himself. Knight is a close combat fighter using his fast Schmetter swings while walking, a pounce attack for damage that creates a light aura for boosted damage, and a light up attack that levitates enemies with AoE damage. Nightlight's base upgrades boost his gimmick of buffing himself while slowing enemies down, and his upgrade paths are practically broken, giving lots of utility and creativity, but his soul gem just makes his Schmetter stronger. For design and figure, I really don't vibe with it. He's an angel warrior, but the golden undermouth and the bug eyes throw me off, but his figure is pretty dynamic. I think Nightlight does a great job showing the light element, but I do feel his gimmick needed more to show off, since I hardly knew I was stronger in the light aura. But Nightlight is a 4 for dishing out heavenly damage to all. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. A dragon of light, Spotlight. Spotlight is one of the first light element Skylanders, being the example to show how broken these new elements will be. Spotlight is a projectile fighter using a laser eye beam, halo rings to scatter around that shoot projectiles and can be connected for a larger beam distance, and an AoE heavenly light attack. For base upgrade, Spotlight is radiant with a focus on her rings, and for upgrade paths, she is shining, having creative boosts to her skills like sending enemies to heaven, and her soul gem boosts her heavenly light skill to shoot projections of herself. Spotlight is a prime example of Chef's Kiss. She has the moves that pre-existing landers have, but delivers them in a fresh and innovative way that I love a lot. For design and figure, she is a light dragon, typical of what I would expect one to be, but I love the ghastly eyes she has, and her figure pose is cool with an iridescent glow. So Spotlight is a 5 for really setting an example of the new light element. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. A Centaur of Hollow, Nightmare. Nightmare is a warrior of dark, donning a huntress mindset and sending enemies to the Shadow Realm, Jimbo. Night is mainly a close combat with her flamberge swings that she can move around with, a dash attack, and her battle horn to stun enemies. Her base upgrades are a utility boost, with only her shadow cloning with the horn being unique, but her upgrade paths are split between creative versus utility for either clone fun or sword damage, but her soul gem summons the Shadow Realm that clones enemies and blinds them. Nightmare's design and figure though is cool. I love me a Centaur woman, so all of her black gleam is sick, and her figure is iridescent too, with a valiant pose. But my issue with Nightmare is how she is the most underwhelming of the 4, having basic moves like an OK dash attack, with only her shadow clones being unique to her. So Nightmare is a 3 for hunting in the night but doesn't always catch her prey. I'm rating every Skylander based on gameplay design and dynamic figure pose. A Dragon of Shadow, Blackout. Blackout is one of the first dark elemental Skylanders, again being a prime example of how broken these new elements are. Blackout is an all-around fighter with wing whip attacks to combo, a shadow or projectile becoming an AoE, and a black hole teleport for enemies and himself. Blackout's base upgrades are lightly creative, more utility, but his upgrade paths cover the land and darkness with creative and utility boost. Then his soul gen makes his shadow orb into a disaster of a black hole. My gripe with Blackout is I love his unique moveset, but I feel like sometimes it just doesn't work well with him, kinda tripping on your own shadow. But his design and figure are gnarly. He's an evilish dark dragon. And his figure is iridescent and menacing. So Blackout is a 4 for truly veiling enemies into the darkness. I finished rating every Trap Team Skylander, so let's see who's the best. Skylander's Trap Team is finally over, having so many Skylanders, yet this is the generation when Skylanders were either peak or complete trash. 1 is Kaboom. I feel he has everything I dislike in a Skylander. He's playable, but nowhere near creative. 2 is Snapshot, not because he's inherently bad, but I feel for a starter Skylander he needed more oomph, but instead he's simplistic, but he is still fun. 3 is Tough Luck. I don't really vibe with her design, but her gameplay of heavy stealth is unique and a perfect middle ground, I'd say. 4 is Batspin, that I know is a surprise, but I love her gimmick of Bat Buddies, and her gameplay is so much fun, plus she has a different side of gameplay with her bat form. 5 is Gear Shift. I know there are so many banger TT Skylanders, but her gear toggle to different styles is brilliant, and I love how you can play any gameplay style with her, but her blue eyes do pierce my soul.